Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Snake Find Your Truth. I am so excited for today. I'm trying out some new ways of speaking about microdosing because the ways of talking about microdosing are always endless. Welcome to today's topic, microdosing for personal growth. What does personal growth mean? It's always interesting, right? What do we mean by growth? So I call this Welcome to Microdosing for Personal Growth, or Welcome to Microdosing for Self-Esteem, Feeling Safe, Healing, Showing Up, Authenticity, Joy, Vitality, Abundance, Intimacy, and Love. That's the longhand version. So today I'm going to show you how to work with plant medicine to radically accelerate your personal growth. I'm guessing if you're watching this isn't your first exploration in personal growth or healing. And I'm also guessing that you might have some concerns or fears about microdosing, like, is it safe? Is it legal? Is it addictive? Can I drive, work, parent? This is all really, really, really common. We've been taught by the current healthcare and pharmaceutical system that when something doesn't feel good, we need a pill. And that someone else, like the doctor, is the only one who knows what pill you need. Now, here's the thing. We love polarity. We love clear rules. It's not clear. My dog Rose has been hobbling. She has an infected foot. She has not put pressure on her foot for a couple days. And so I took her to the vet yesterday. They gave her antibiotics. And already this morning, she's putting some pressure on the foot. Because pills do treat important illnesses. And the Western pharmaceutical system is keeping most of us alive. So it's not an either or. It's just being aware of what our relationship is to various substances and the ways that we give away our power. If I have an infection or an inflammation that requires antibiotics or steroids, I know that I do not understand what I need to understand about those human-created medicines. And I cannot prescribe them to myself, and I wouldn't want to. But when it comes to other types of medicines that have perhaps gentler impacts or more emotional, spiritual impacts as well as physical, that are forageable, that for thousands of years we've been in relationship with and just have to reconnect our relationship to, I believe that we can also have intuitions. Now, it's also true that I have intuitions about antibiotics, steroids, those types of medications, and we should listen to those. So it's not black and white. All this to say, it's not black and white. It's a pairing of expertise and intuition. But just be aware that we are pretty much trained to give away our power so that when a healthcare practitioner, and this can include a naturopathic doctor, an acupuncturist, says, take this herb, we just take it without having an actual relationship to it. So a big part of microdosing is taking that power back. And instead of saying, oh, it's the pill, it's the mushroom, it's deciding to co-create something with that medicine ourselves. Because that's really what we're here for. Whether it's showing up as yourself in the spaces that you come into, whether it's creating consistent self-worth, building your business, healing a physical ailment, we all want to live as fully as we can. And my experience is that this is possible, far beyond what we can imagine, far beyond. And so when we go into the energetic of the pill will do it, we cut off the possibility of what we can also do in combination with the medicine. my goal today, actually, I'm going to talk about that another time. I think I've been clear. I see microdosing as a powerful accelerator to a process that is already underway. If you're not already growing and looking at yourself and working on being detached from all the thinking and expressing yourself, I don't think that microdosing is the right first step. And in fact, I've said to people who've come to me to work with me, who are struggling with, like, say, big depression, and they'll come and want to work with me, and I'll say, you know what I would rather you do is spend 3 to 6 months in weekly therapy first, because there's so much that can get moving just with a deep therapeutic relationship. And again, it's not polarity. I hear a lot of, anti-talk therapy out there, which doesn't make any sense anyway, and not worth us going into right now, because there's no such thing as just talk therapy. We're in bodies. And also, like, I never learned this in therapy, or this or that, like very like anti-therapy, which is really, really insulting to the healthcare workers who listen to us for a living, who metabolize what we say and help us for a living and provide really important services. No one modality is everything. And I absolutely believe that therapy has its limits, but it also saved my life and has saved so many people's lives and is so important. So watching our language is really important. For the right person who has done that foundational work, and it doesn't have to be therapy. Sometimes it's meditation. Sometimes it's a lot of journaling and self-reflection. But for someone who's already kind of like aware of how they're creating things in their lives and the things that they're struggling with and what they want for themselves, guided microdosing has the potential to take you like from here to here in a very short period of time. I'm not going to talk about who I am today because I've done that before with you. So I'm stepping through that. So microdosing, as we've said in previous live streams, but I'll say it again, is when you take a sub-perceptual amount of a psychedelic medicine according to a specific protocol. So generally, I work with psilocybin. So let's talk about psilocybin, magic mushrooms. You're taking a sub-perceptual amount. This is the thing that's usually hardest for my clients to wrap their head around. They want to feel something. This has got a lot to do with drug culture, a lot to do with how mushrooms are presented on television. And it is not how the Silicon Valley entrepreneurs are using it, let me tell you. And they're using it for performance. They don't want to feel anything. You don't want to feel effects. You want your dose to be low enough that you're not feeling it. It's happening in the background, which is why the guided piece is so important, because you're continuing and intensifying your personal work. You have an intention and you're taking this psilocybin in the background. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get the dose right, but when the dose is right, you do not know you're taking it, except all of a sudden you'll be like, oh, I didn't see that before. Or, oh my gosh, my kid is really opening up to me. Huh. The changes happen and you kind of go, whoa. Protocol means that you choose the frequency and duration of the microdosing. So 8 weeks, twice a week, very common protocol. Say Wednesdays and Saturdays for 8 weeks, 16 doses total. The reason for this is that it's a container. It's just like if you were to take a full journey and you were to take 2 grams and have your experience. Once you take the 2 grams, you're in, right? There's no getting off. And then when you're done, and you've planned for that event. Same thing, except it's subperceptual. So you're not taking it because you feel stressed or because you want to feel more, or because you don't want to feel more. You are choosing to go on a journey with the medicine and to ride the waves of what happens. And then you take a couple weeks break. And I've talked about drug culture before, so I'm not going to talk about drug culture today, but you know how I feel about it. It is destructive as all hell. Okay. And by that, I mean, I guess I should say, we've made drugs bad. And so people who do them are bad and often lump a whole bunch of other irresponsibilities in with the use of substances that our culture has said are not okay, and has lumped a whole bunch of substances in together and deals with addiction in the most horrible way. And let's remember that the war on drugs is completely racist. It's shocking when you look at the history of it. The war on drugs is unscientific. The evidence for psychedelic healing is overwhelming. And the war on drugs is completely unjust. It takes away our civil liberties to use indigenous plants that have been used for thousands of years. Also racist. So that being said, I always like to go over that. It gives me juice to say that because it just burns me up that we're taught that these things are bad, and people are constantly telling me they're, I don't do drugs, as if it means that they're like going to be on the streets or something. And this is part of what causes addiction, is when we other these substances and stop we need to stop seeing them as so other and bring the experience of humanity into like this cohesive whole. Start looking at things in a more reasonable way. So how do you empower yourself with microdosing in 1 8-week cycle? I talked about the protocol, not changing the protocol, but sticking with it. Setting an intention. Let me tell you about me like 12, 13 years ago. Is that right? More like 17 years ago. Maybe 15. Anyway, I'm going through a divorce. I'm making a ton of money. He's coming after me for a ton of money. I am unhappy in my job. I have no self-confidence to save my life. And I am getting negative thoughts like roiling through me at the most rapid of rates. And so what am I doing? I'm taking Ativan to help calm me. I had to do television spots. And I said to the doctor, I said, I need some, I have to go on live TV. What am I going to do? Gives me Ativan. Drink wine at night, sleeping pills to help me sleep. It becomes a cycle because I'm trying to help in the moment with a pharmaceutical, which, remember, I'm not anti-pharmaceutical, but I'm trying to help in the moment with pharmaceutical to make it to the next day, but I'm not getting to the root cause of anything until I started working with ayahuasca. Again, a substance, but instead of tamping it down, I'm purging it out. In combination with intensive support from a therapist who helped me purge it and direct the energies in the direction of what I really wanted to create in my life. My mother had difficulty holding me, and thus I had difficulty holding myself. And so I needed someone to help to hold me and help me learn to hold myself as all of this purging energy is coming out. All the stuff I don't need, ayahuasca is bringing up. And this is also what psilocybin does in a much gentler way. And when you microdose again, in a much gentler way. Bringing up what you don't need. When we work with the medicine in co-creation, that means we don't expect it to do the work, but we do the work with it. We're doing the inner work while we're on the protocol. we create miracles in our lives. We change our brains. We connect to our aliveness. I recently worked with a client who was tortured by her use of cannabis. She felt she was muting all her feelings, and she may well have been. And she was judging herself for it. She felt, I have done enough work. I should be beyond this. Is this familiar? And there's lots of ways you can approach these things. But what she did is she went on a journey with psilocybin. And within 2 weeks, the cannabis just fell away. Because when we purge what we no longer need, when we allow the feelings to come to the surface, we don't need to tamp them down anymore. So instead of fighting the cannabis, we become ourselves. And from there, we let go of whatever it is that we don't need. And I hear this over and over again in my work. Psilocybin is not physiologically addictive, although anything can become psychologically addictive. You don't feel high. You don't feel anything. The magic and the medicine work in the background to support the growth you've already begun. So how do you empower yourself with an 8-week microdosing protocol? You follow the protocol. You get intensive support that repairs what has been broken in the relational field so you can reconnect to yourself. By making your own decisions, not listening to the culture, but making them for yourself. And by doing your inner work. And when you do this, everything you don't need falls away, and you barely recognize the person that you were in the ways that you were engaging in behaviors that weren't helping you, that you didn't even want, but you felt stuck in. So those are my suggestions for how to empower yourself with an 8-week microdosing cycle. If you go to expandwithmicrodosing.com, you can get an email with all of my tips and best suggestions. And hit me up on any of the social media platforms. I'm always open for a question or a call or something like that. This has been really fun today. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.